what I'm going to do today, you guys have probably seen me present on some Galactic Alliance events, my Galactic Origins presentation, but it's so long, the benefit is that every time I do it, I can never actually get to the end of it. So today I'm doing the end of it, which is I'm doing like kind of a hybrid kind of presentation because we're going to freestyle a lot of this, and I'm going to do a poem. I just pieced a bunch of slides together, so we're just going to see what kind of intuitive flow we're going to find with the information, and then we're going to get into the whole original hybridization of the first humanoid all the way up until present moment onto Earth. And at that point, I would love for open discussion where I'll be going over the story, and then we can have all the hosts here, all the panelists come on and just have a discussion. Maybe we've heard different things, maybe you have something else to contribute to it, part of the story, and piece the story together. So first, what I'm going to do is I was going to do like a more emotional poem, but then I realized that maybe a more technical poem would be good and an emotional one will be later, because we're going to get into the first thing we're going to talk about here are dimensions. We're going to break down dimensions. Let me do the poem and then I'll talk to you about exactly what the flow is going to look like. All right, so this is called The Universe. And actually, I wrote this poem in 2004. I was 22 years old. And this, so it was a long time ago. This is when I used to create like more, before I was into spoken word and slam poetry and hip hop and rap as much. This is when I was just like pure poetry kind of expression. The universe. There is no time. The universe is my calendar. Only the perception of mind and humanistic creation of the divine, the one from the heavens, came here to earth. I was here in the beginning. I will be here until the end. When the universe freezes over, the stars so far apart, and the dark matter is overcome by the dark energy, and solar systematic mentality is minimal in these galaxies. But actually, 100 years to pass before an opening in the door, a crack in the floor, death, pain is purely mental, keeping us from fearing to move on into another dimension, another universe. It will not end. It will keep going on. Use the multi-dimensional spirit to travel to the endless depths of space. The flat planes of the constellation are an illusion. Shifting of stars erase the superficiality of another's face. Relative of distance. The bending of time. Erase the word from my apprehension. Platonic shift and humans will finally find themselves falling into a black whirl of fire, energy, nothingness, the anti-level, sucked down with a gravitational pull, eventually releasing us into another plane. Out of the white hole. Out of a white hole. So again, guys, that was called The Universe, and I'm just going to break it down a bit before we get into the presentation here. So basically, the whole concept is time and just like how linearity works. So there is no time. The universe is in my calendar. And then the perception of mind, the manifestation, the creation of it, the ones from the heavens come here to earth. Being here in the beginning, being here in the end. When the universe freezes over, we'll be here forever. Energy always continues. And then, but actually 100 years to pass before an opening of the door. So we're talking about the 100-year cycle that we've been stuck in of death and rebirth, humans living till about 100. But then there's an opening in the door. There's a crack in the floor. Then there's death. But pain is purely mental, keeping us from fearing to move on to another dimension of the universe. Then it says it will not end. So let's get over it and just have a more abundant experience of life. This is a cycle we're in, but let's transcend it because we're always going to be here. So it will keep going on. So we can use the multidimensional spirit to travel to the endless depths of space. That's the Merkaba light body. Everything is an illusion, shifting of stars, erase the superficiality of another's face, penetrating deep into the energetic realms. Relative of distance is relative, the bending of time. Erase the word from our apprehension, time, and we will finally find ourselves falling. Now, this is us falling into what? A black whirl of fire, energy. This is a black hole, the singularity. We're falling into the singularity, but actually, we're being sucked down with a pull, a gravitational pull. eventually doing what? Releasing us into another plane out of a white hole. So this poem here is a metaphor for the science of incarnation onto this planet, how time and linearity works. And then in the end, there's no like we are ascending, we're not. It's like we're sucked into the singularity, we become pure energy again, and then we're released into another plane out of a white hole, which is the opposite of a black hole. And then the cycle starts all over again. So it's a very neutral poem just about the cycles of how we're reincarnated and things like that. All right. So here we go. We are going to start with dimensions, and I think that's the perfect place to start, since that poem kind of was breaking down time and dimensions. So some of you may have seen this part of the presentation before, but I figured it would be a good way to start out, just so that we're breaking down ETs, starseeds, hybrid realms, right? What are all of these? What is a dimension, right? And I'm here in Mount Shasta, hung out with Pragit from Stargate, who channels Alcazar, and he says that a lot of the beings and the beings that he's connected with don't even look at it as dimensions. That those dimensions are a labeling term that identifies us as separation. And when we transcend this world where we've been stuck in so much duality and separation and division, we're seeing everything as that. But ultimately, we're not even seeing it from the lens of what it truly is. So I like to keep those concepts in mind as we break these things down. So what is a dimension? And firstly, a disclaimer on dimensions. It's important to note the term dimension and lowest is a human construct. When we speak of hierarchy within dimensions as one being better than the other. So how many times has somebody said, oh no, I don't connect to the 6th dimensional beings, I connect with the 8th, 12th, 11th. And what does that imply in our head? That implies that there is a hierarchy, that you're connected to even closer to source. So that hierarchical standpoint is a Kali Yuga theme, the theme of hierarchy. We've been in the Kali Yuga. The 3 themes of the Kali Yuga are hierarchy, authority, and delusion. Hierarchy, authority, and delusion. So when we look at dimensions, we're looking at it from a lens of not only the age that we're in, but also in a world of division and separation, perceived separation. We create this hierarchy. So it's a human construct. I prefer to call dimensions a dimension of experience. That makes it more neutral. Not one is better than the other. And if we want to talk about how the dimensions are broken down, because we have 3 dimensions, right? They say we're in 3D, but a lot of people, including myself, believe that we exist in the 4th dimension. And the reason for this is this simple breakdown. What is 3 dimensions? Length, width, and height. So take a look at the graph here at the bottom. We have length, width, and height, right? There is no physicality within that. The physicality and time, the dimension of time and space, right? Because time is a linearity. You need to travel to get there. You need to use all 3 dimensions to get there, right? And then you have space. Space is a location where something can be lodged, okay? Time is a relative compared to all 3 dimensions and getting to that location. So the time is directly connected to time, space-time, because it needs to take time to get to that location in space. So the 4th dimension is the object in space. So look at this right here. We have height, length, width, and the 4th dimension is now created from the simple fact that something is physically manifested in that reality. And that physical manifestation begins the process of space-time. And now we have time, which is also the astral realm, because it's also the realm that we can transcend, travel through the astral realm, whether it's through physical means of actual light ships or through our astral body. So the 4th dimension is basically an extra dimension of time or experience. Astral dimensions or afterlife, some people believe the 4th dimension. So this right here is what a lot of people believe the 4th dimension is: an extra dimension of time, an astral dimension or afterlife, or life between lives where apparitions exist, and purgatory has also been considered to be the 4th dimension. Physicists consider it space-time, meaning a spatial dimension beyond the normal 3, which is what I showed you earlier. So new studies detected this dimension by studying black holes. And so it's very interesting. We're detecting a fourth dimensional reality by studying black holes, because black holes are bending and creating rips in space-time. And we're realizing that there's a fourth dimensional effect going on here. And this is just a research article where, the physicists claim to have proven Einstein's theory of a fourth dimension. Now, this geometry, I'm going to show you a couple of geometries here. This is the geometry of the tesseract. Each dimension has its own geometry. So this right here is the geometry of the tesseract, which you might have seen in the Avengers movies and other types of movies, and also Pythagoras spoke about it. My Pythagoras presentation, I speak about it. The tesseract is the geometry of the fourth dimension, whereas a cube is the geometry of the 3D. And you can see here, this is how it's kind of created. A cube within a cube. And then this is the animated version of what's going on with the fourth dimension. This is the fourth dimension karmic matrix geometry. This is the cycle we're within. Imagine our physical universe within this going through a cycle, or not even a physical universe. It could be compartmentalized just to our galaxy, because there's even possibility from my own research and from a lot of other people that I've been tuning into, that other galaxies have their own laws of physics, their own frequencies, their own karmic cycles, and maybe there's karmic cycles within, or let's just take the way karma, like matrix cycles within matrix cycles within matrix cycles. That the solar system is in one matrix cycle, that's a 26,000 year cycle that all the people within our solar system, beings in here, basically subscribe to, and are basically, it's a set of rules and frequency regulations that we're abiding to within our solar system. And then other solar systems could have their own, cycles within that, because they're located at different places within our galaxy. And then our galaxy probably has another matrix cycle in which all the beings in our galaxy have to abide by certain frequency rule regulations, if you will, or challenges to transcend, because when you transcend these frequency regulations, you then usher yourself in to another realm of experience, another dimension of experience. So this fourth dimensional tesseract, why was it in the Avengers movie? This tesseract was a tool for them to time travel, right? And this is the geometry that we are here to master. So the reason why that we are we're breaking free from this, because what is happening right now is we are within that. Okay, what is going on, in this moment? What we're destined to do is we're destined to be the controllers of time. We are currently unconsciously living, so we are victims to time because we aren't aware that we are actually affecting it. As soon as we consciously live and we all transcend this matrix cycle, we then can actually, control, manipulate, maneuver through, liquefy time. And then, of course, we get to the fifth dimension. So why is the fourth dimension skipped? Well, we're in the fourth dimension. We're just blind to the effects of it, or no, we realize the effects of it, but we don't realize we can control it. How we age, how we travel, so many different elements, right? Time is pretty much linearity, and that's what we live within. How we receive information, how we get downloads. We transcend the fourth dimension and we move into the fifth dimension, in which we are given now 2 dimensions of time and 3 dimensions of space, which equals 5 dimensions. So when you get to the fifth dimension, this is the liquefying time dimension, because at this point, we add an extra point of time. We no longer have a beginning and an end. We have an integration point, the middle, which is why we're able to now cultivate a oneness, non-dualistic kind of experience, is because we can exist within the integration point. We exist still in a world where there's polarity, right? But then we're able to create that integration point, which is why the triangle right here in the background is the well, there's actually a geometry for the fifth dimension you'll see, but the triangle is a representation for the spirituality of the fifth dimension, because we have the beginning and the end, the 2 points at the bottom, and then we have the integration point, which is right at the top, of us finding that common ground. And as we probably will get into, is that's the story of the Lyrans, attempting to find the integration point, and Earth was supposed to be that place until it wasn't. This is a key component to realize our relationship with otherworldly beings, since if they exist in this dimension or higher, they do not exist within linear time. Therefore, they're simultaneously existing with us. And this is, as per physics, the fifth dimensional geometry. Interact. So the fifth dimension in physics isn't just an esoteric concept, isn't something we just came out with recently. It's actually been around for a little while now. And the early research on the fifth dimensional space was actually in 1921. And it attempted to develop a theory that unifies the four fundamental interactions: strong, weak, nuclear forces, gravity, and electromagnetism. So what they realized here is what they had speculated upon and theorized was that all the opposing forces in nature that we have, strong and weak nuclear forces, gravity, and electromagnetism, is unified in 5D. To me, this is extremely interesting because these guys were definitely spiritually, divinely informed, because that's pretty much what we're saying as well within the esoteric world, right? That nothing is really separate. All of these things are working together. In 3D reality with conventional science, the strong and weak forces, gravity and electromagnetism, are independent of each other. They theorized in 1921 that the four fundamental interactions in nature unify in 5D. How does that physically even look? The dimension would not directly be observable. Klein suggested that 5D would be rolled up into a tiny compact loop. Under his reasoning, he envisioned light as a disturbance caused by rippling in higher dimensions, just beyond human perception. While not detectable, it would indirectly imply a connection between seemingly unrelated forces. That possibly these unrelated forces in other dimensions, we're saying higher in this context, are interacting in a way that's creating a disturbance in those dimensions, thereby the offspring, if you will, of that disturbance is the light being reflected into our reality. This is so interesting. If we dive deeper into this, I would feel that he's actually extremely correct here, because we used to think that light from suns, for example, came from nuclear fusion, right? That there was some sort of fusion generator in there, and then it's going to run out one day, and then we're going to no longer have a star, and it explodes or whatever happens, right? But now we realize that stars don't actually operate from nuclear fusion, and we can't actually figure out what the theory that we've come up with, what the answer truly is. And, we're not going to go into white holes on here, but one of the theories is that the light that gets sucked in from black holes end up coming out as the light from stars in other realities. There's other theories that are also in alignment with maybe light is a ripple from higher dimensions into this reality. So the Kaluza-Klein theory experienced a revival in the 1970s due to the emergence of superstring theory and supergravity, the concept that reality is composed of vibrating strands of energy in 10 dimensions or more. So that's basically a resurrection of this awareness. So skipping forward here to galactic dimensions breakdown. So there's so many variations in dimensions, and people saying I'm 24-dimensional being and I'm 17-dimensional being, and then physics and quantum physics and other esoteric communities saying that there's 13 dimensions and the 13th one is the void, and how the number 13 was actually banned because even Nassim Haramein says this, because of its connection to the void. The 13 represents the singularity, the 12 within the one. There's 12 points of singularity inside a black hole. There's one black hole, 13, 12 within the one. Same with apostles in Jesus Christ, all over the place. Mayans, 13, normally 12 within the one, 12 and 1. So, but there's all these other individuals saying different types of things of dimensions. So there's parallel dimensions, a dimension within a dimension. There's dimensions, higher dimensions, lower dimensions, right? So that term is used very loosely. So with that being said, I'll give you this breakdown here. Galactic dimensions breakdown. So superstring theory says there's 11 dimensions. They believe there could be at least 11 dimensions, but up to 13. So that's what I'm just letting you know what conventional scientists are coming to the conclusion of. there's a possibility that as the density of the planet shifts in relation to the distance from the center of the galaxy, the dimension also changes. Early in this presentation that I've presented many times before, I show how it looks like that our solar system actually could have come from the Sagittarius galaxy that is currently colliding and joining us. And Alan, when I told him this one day, told me this piece of information that helped me add even more to the whole idea. Is the reason they say that is because of the way our solar system is lodged in relation to the rest of our galaxy. It looks like we came in at an angle. It's almost like we're not even on the same plane as the rest of the solar systems in our galaxy.
Right. Doesn't that make sense, Neil? That because our solar plane is at a different angle to the galactic plane, we may have come in from another galaxy. Yeah.
Exactly. And there's other pieces of information and that connect to the same exact thing, that we may have come from Sagittarius. So the theory was that we actually started closer to the center of the galaxy when we got sucked in from this other galaxy that is colliding with us. And there's computer models online that you can see it right now. It's basically an infinity spiral. There's like all types of debris just engaging and coming into our galaxy from over 1 billion years of colliding with this galaxy. So we started from the closer in the center, and then we made ourselves our way out, closer, away from the galactic center. And now we're on a trajectory back towards the center. So one thing that I'm theorizing from just, I've gone to a lot of events, I've facilitated thousands and thousands of presentations. I've sat in thousands of channelings. And so from all of that, like I kind of like felt that maybe the closeness to the center of our galaxy has a relation to the frequency of the solar system, especially because the gravitational pull from the black hole is so strong, right? And earlier in this presentation, I also talk about the fastest rotating star around our galaxy, and it's like around the black hole in the center, and it's a matter of like days. A huge black hole, right? Frequency is so strong, the pull is so strong in that area that only in dimensions where you have control of your reality and your star system and your weather and all this stuff are you even able to physically exist. So third dimensional life and life like this would probably have a better ability to flourish further out from the center of the galaxy. So 12 dimensions of universal experience. So now this goes to the whole idea of one of the theories that I heard quite a lot, that I resonate with a lot, is that there's 12 dimensions of experience within our galaxy. This could be universal, but I'm starting to come to the realization that this might be constructs within galaxies, that different galaxies almost have their own rules and regulations. There might be collective of galaxies that come together that all abide by one certain overrule energy. And that even goes into the whole concept of Archangel Michael being a facilitator of multiple galaxies in our localized universe, right? That there's overseers, there's facilitators, and there's protectors, if you will, of these galaxies that are going through similar cycles. So as we get into this galaxy, right, could be universal, 12 dimensions. And this is also why I think this 12 dimensions of experience, on the 7th dimension, we still have a physical experience. On the 8th dimension, it's a quasi-physical, right? Half light, half physical, 5th, 6th, 7th. And then we get into the oversoul reality of the 8th dimension. And then we continue to transcend into other dimensions of non-physical experience within this physical galaxy, different dimensional experience. And then the 13th dimension is the void. So this connects us to a galactic cycle, which is the void in the center of our galaxy, which is basically the seat of God, right? The central sun. So many ancient cultures have called it the seat of God, the central sun. They've talked about their sun god and didn't even mean the sun in our solar system. They meant the central sun, even when they talk about the sun god. And it was almost like in the great cycles of time, we realized that the center of our galaxy is truly the creator force energy that holds all of our existence together. And that is the void. What is God? God is the oneness. What is the oneness? The void, the singularity, the black hole. What is Shiva? Shiva, no thing. Shiva means no thing. Shiva is a physical representation of the black hole. Right. And this is the whole entire research on this. This is pretty much a given at this point, that Shiva is the recycling energy. So even that deity in God, we see so many times that there's all these correlations to the black hole. Jesus, 12 within the one, 12 points of singularity in the one black hole, the void, right? So there could be, right? And, you know, even though I receive downloads, I'm also a huge skeptic. So that's why I say it could be, but really resonates with me, this understanding that there's these 12 dimensions of experience within this galactic construct, and then the 13th dimensional void. Right, and that takes me to a poem which starts with the void. So this is a perfect segue into a little poetic expression here. And completely in alignment with what you spoke about, the whole idea that we, you know, that the void, the center of the universe, the center of our galaxy, the supermassive black hole, holds this energy and frequency that is basically like our God, right? Is like we're all rotating around, and a lot of ancient cultures have shown reverence to it. So this poem is called Fragmentation. And not only does it in alignment with what I just said, but it's also in alignment with the whole fragmentation idea of extraterrestrials leaving from the center of the galaxy, going out to the rest of, you know, other humanoid beings, going out to the rest of the galaxy, fragmenting, going into other dimensions, creating other representations of themselves, incarnating into these bodies, having experiences in multiple dimensions simultaneously, including our reality. So it's split into, oh man, it's split into three things here: the void, the darkness, the light. Because the void is the beginning of all. The darkness and the light is what came afterwards, you know, and just like the yin yang shows, there's always darkness in the light and light within the darkness. They love each other so much that they coexist in harmony. And the void is the creator force, the mother and the father of the light and the dark. And the void loves both equally. Fragmentation, the void. In the beginning, there were no words, no concept, no winning, no place, no time, no description, no label, no finishing, until awareness became conscious of itself. Separation from the source, no east, no west, no south or north. Not to mention there never existed a dimension or ascension or physical lessons except for the 0 point. There was no Christ to anoint. Singularity, energy, frequency raised vibrationally, paradoxically into limitation of what the five senses can see. No linearity, no anarchy, no galaxies, no nebulae, no jobs, no nature, no materialism, and no political lies, until darkness finally fragmented from the light, using free will to see through the night. I take the anxiety pill full of fright. In my bed, insecure from the conspiracy that might take over my mind, control me with a chip inside, scared and full of fear. That is the reason why we're here. To the star system, Arcturus, I stare and recite my cosmic prayers, self-empowered, the fabric of victim consciousness. I tear. The light. The destination has already been chosen. It's the journey that counts. Every day we transcend, no doubt, living in the now, realizing the solar projection of a co-creation of our own subconscious mind, channel energy through the heart, remembrance of the divine, take apart my ego and restart my life in any moment. I'm going home, traveling across the black intergalactic ocean. I took the psychedelic potion, now I'm awoken. To the streets we take the spoken word. Fly high, levitate the God inside, I'm free like a bird. Cosmic oneness, integrating in my being. A full spectrum being, in alignment with the purity confined in ranges of frequencies, inhibit what we are seeing. I shift what I choose to believe in. Fuel my light body for the ether I'm fiending. So let me take a moment here before we continue move on and just break this down a little bit. So fragmentation poem, the void. So this is before everything, right? In the beginning. And that's really funny because it's a paradox, because there is no beginning. In the beginning were no words, there were no concept, there was no winning, there was no hierarchy, there was no place, there was no time, there was no description, there was no labels. And then it's about awareness becoming conscious of itself, but there was nothing on this existed. There was no dimensions, no east, west, south, north. There was no Christ to anoint. And there was singularity, energy, frequency, raised vibrationally, paradoxically, into limitation of what the five senses can see. The frequency existed and created the first universal paradox. Nothing material existed until the darkness decided to fragment from the light. And where did they both exist? Within the void. Then what happened next? Using free will to see through the night. We're heading back to the light. And what we're using to get there is our free will, the darkness. And then this is like the epitome of the now moment. I'm taking the anxiety pill. I'm full of fright. I'm in my bed, insecure for the conspiracies, most of them being factual, that might take over my mind, control me with a chip inside. But I'm scared and full of fear, but that's the reason why we're here. Then what do? I'm reciting my prayers to Arcturus, like self-empowered. It's time to tear this victim consciousness. And then this light one right here, just that everything was already chosen. This journey was meant to be like this. Now it's time to head back home. I'm going home, traveling across the Black Ocean. I took the psychedelic potion. The DMT has awoken my consciousness. I'm awoken. And then the last part is, fly high, levitate the God inside. We're free like a bird. And now it's time to integrate the cosmic oneness in our being. We're all full spectrum beings. We came here to fear. The reason why so many ETs love watching this experience on Earth is because we're full range frequency beings. We're able to experience the depth of the frequencies to the highest frequencies and to connect that to our emotional state. So the emotional ability to feel on Earth is something very unique. We're full spectrum beings. With a full spectrum experience, we're able to be full spectrum teachers and go out into the cosmos with this awareness of how we achieve light in this world where we had amnesia and was full of so many challenges and so much darkness. But the ranges of frequencies have inhibited what we are seeing. So what do we have to do? We have to shift what we choose to believe in, because it's a choice. Then the last line here, fuel my light body, where that's what we're doing with each other. As Joan of Angels does, she fluffs people's wings, and we're literally like fluffing each other up, fueling each other's light bodies, because now, after this darkness, after this fragmentation from the void, the ether is what I'm feeling for. It's time to go back to the one. And this goes here to each galaxy. Okay, so let's all take a deep breath in here real quick with me. So let's take a deep, deep breath in, everybody. Let it out with a sigh. Let's do that again. Everybody take a deep breath in. Let it go with a sigh. Just to create a little pause here before we get back into the analytical from the creative poetry. So my understanding from all frequencies and dimensions is that each galaxy could be running its own program, karmic cycle, matrix cycle, experiential realm, or even have their own laws of physics in some elements. So we're intricately connected to galaxies closer to us. However, our immediate stage of experience is our localized galaxy, like this specific area. And you can see in this map of the galaxy there, you see where it says you are here. I just want you to know that it used to be that we were on the ends of the spiral of a galaxy. That's actually recently been changed from the new equipment that we have. That we're actually somewhere in the center from the end of that galactic spiral and the black hole in the center. All right, now here is the $1 million question, everybody. This is what all of that was about. So the question really is, where is ET? Where are the beings, extraterrestrials? We do so much work on it. We create epic events on it. We have experiences coming all the time. We do like 5-day summits on this information. But where is ET? Why can't we see ET? And why do they not just land? Like, this is something that I've heard a lot over like the last 15 years, is that, from people who don't really believe that there are beings visiting us. Well, if they're around, why don't they just land on the White House lawn, right? And the answer to that isn't in the presentation, so I'll give it right now. Well, it's really about who they connect with. And as you may know, that most of our governments were in this lower stage of this Kali Yuga have been very warlike and defensive, and and have the national security in mind. So a lot of times when we think about, you know, ETs communicating with governments, it's normally about what can we get out of you? How can we capitalize off you? And are you a threat to us? Which is why the DoD, and that's a whole other presentation, why the DoD is really behind this whole disclosure movement, because they thought it was a threat originally. Some of them still do. So why don't they come and help us, right? Like another question, if there's ETs everywhere, look at all the craziness going on the planet. Why aren't they here now helping us? Why don't they clean up our water supply? Even though some people say they have, why don't they come down and give us the cures to certain things, help us get away from petrol dollar, all that stuff? And why don't they save us from ourselves? Well, if they're everywhere, why can't we see them? Because I feel like we're the biggest light show in the universe, that there's craft all around us, all over this planet right now. But then the question is, why can't we see them? And the answer is it's a frequency game. We exist within a certain range of frequency and a bandwidth range of frequencies. But now, because we are, you know, slowly but surely evolving into a greater understanding of the way nature of reality works, is that we're realizing that there are frequencies that we cannot perceive, that it do exist. So it was at one point, like hundreds of years ago to thousands of years ago, right? We didn't realize that there was anything besides this physical. Of course, there was a lot of people in the world that did, but just like that there were other vibrations, frequencies, light realms, spectrums of light, that wasn't really common knowledge. It was more ancient times, most likely. And now this awareness is coming back to us. And because it's come back to us, we've created tools and technology to actually calculate frequencies of realms that we cannot even perceive, right? What's a great example of that? Radio frequencies. Tell me the last time you saw a physical radio frequency move past your face. Probably never. A few hundred years ago, we didn't even know we could tap into that vibration. What's happened now is all of a sudden we had technology to realize that we can create frequencies, we can tap into currently existing frequencies, and we can use it to transfer data, information, and even more, right? We're going to get to a point where we can do so much more with this. So we understand and we realize that not only that, we even know what frequency range our eyes could see. We even know what frequency range we can smell. We even know what frequency range we can hear, right? Like, for example, a dog whistle. Dogs can hear that frequency, humans can't. We know the exact numbers of the range of frequencies we have. But what we also know, everybody should know if we just simply speak about it, is that frequencies exist that we cannot perceive, right? The dog whistle is a great example. If that exists, what else? The radio waves are a great example. Ultrasound, a great example. We're using a frequency that we can't even really see, but it's able to do something for us to benefit from. So that's the whole concept of ET. Why don't we see them all the time? Why don't they land on the White House lawn? Well, firstly, they don't exist within the frequency range that we're all in all the time. And then also, it's not only the frequency range that we cannot see them, but we're not at the vibratory harmonic frequency that's needed for us to be able to even communicate with them. We've lived in such a disharmonic state for so long that we're not in a reality that there's enough people on this planet that are at a frequency range that we can have open contact. So the answer, I feel, to all these questions right here is really that it's a vibratory frequency thing. And again, it's not about higher or lower, it's about harmonic and disharmonic. If there's one thing that, you know, I would like for you to get from this is, as we move forward, we're going to change the way we communicate about these higher and lower dimensions and these beings being at realities that are higher than us and knowing more than us. To a lot of these beings, we are the masters. They have gratitude and reverence for us, but we forgot our own divinity. We forgot our own potential. We forgot how amazing we are. And since we forgot that, well, we see everything as better than if we get a chance to. And a lot of times that happens when we think of beings from higher dimensions. But these are just perspectives. We all have different perspectives, and we all signed up for different types of frequency experiences. So, and you can see here, as I was talking about earlier, here are some of the frequency bandwidth limits that human has that we are in the process of transcending. And one is that humans hear between 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. That's how much we can hear. We only perceive and see visible light. So some light we cannot see, but we can measure and utilize. Some light we cannot see or manipulate, but we do know exists. And on the one end of the spectrum is infrared light, which, while too red for humans to see, is all around us and even emitted from our bodies, right? So there's all these frequencies all the time. we even have 400 types of scent receptors that can detect at least 1 trillion different odors, and that's actually increased. But that's also the limitation of what we have right now. And again, through the tools that I'm about to share are some of the tools that we're utilizing to transcend these collective 4D, 3D Earth galactic matrix. You know, we're basically, this matrix has a set of regulations and we're abiding by them. And some of them are how much we see, what we hear, things like that. And as we shift and break free from that and become fully liberated and conscious creators, that's when we get to a point where we're able to actually transcend these. So mainstream research, meditation studies, studies on plant medicine, archaeoacoustic conventions at ancient sites where they've done experiments on the frequencies coming off the caves of Malta, Egypt, so many more, show that these boundaries can actually be broken when we stimulate and activate other parts of our brain, our DNA, our vibration. So something I just wrote there at the bottom that I came up with is when we shift our frequency, we can see. When we shift our frequency, we can see.
Yes.
And now here is another poem. This one is called Hybrid Polarity. And hybrid, even though like when you read it, it doesn't really specifically make you feel hybrid extraterrestrials, right? I wrote this inspired by the first time I ever learned about hybrid ETs, and then I just sat down and wrote this thing. So it's called Hybrid Polarity. It was written like what year is it? 16 years ago. And I think that was like when I was binge watching Bashar. So like, you know, he talks a lot about hybrids. So I'm gonna do this poem here and let's see what time it is. Make sure, yep, we got good flow going on. Are we gonna get to the story here? Yes, we will. Okay. Hybrid polarity. I hear Gaia crying, only dying to be reborn again, realizing there is no separation. The government is our own projection. So why tripping, protesting, and rejecting is only self-hating. We are the sons of men, the goddess of Zen, sons of God. Call me Zeus. Here now to choose. Linearity, ends of calendar let loose. Time is fluid from the beginning of creation taught by the ancient druids. Shamanistic, ritualistic, prolific, sick as lyricist. Atlantean crystal buried in the west. Lemurian tablets, Mount Shasta lightwork of fanatics. Delusional normality where we only believe what we see. Tap into the fifth dimensional frequency, existing in multiple dimensional realities, manifesting in planetary systems to teach a journey through the darkness, taking us to the peak of duality so we can once again see clearly. Remember who we truly be, multifaceted beings. Soul freeing, the pyramids would start to spin, sin, wrap my crystals with copper and tin, conduct electricity electromagnetically traveling astrally through the Merkaba, speed up my aura to 3/4 the speed of light to enter simultaneous time, make the unconscious believe this, glasses on my eyes to see the transit of Venus, solar flare, sun gaze, decalcify my third eye, and enter the maze. Vibrationally raised, there are many pathways to the same place. Source clears this illusionary haze. This is the end of days and the beginning of a new unconditional phase. Taking a moment here. Let's take a deep breath in and breathe in the new unconditional phase for all of humanity. How about that? Breathe in the new unconditional phase for humanity. Breathe it out to spread all over the planet. Let's breathe in harmony for the entire planet. Harmony for all creatures on this planet, all trees, all plants, rocks, this entire human experience into our solar system. Breathe in harmony and explode. Breathe it out of your heart for the whole planet. Take another deep breath in. Breathe it out. So this takes me to first contact. How is first contact going to happen? Or is it happening already? And this one right here, just going to zoom through this one here just to say a few different ways. is channeling. You know, channeling is technically first contact, vibratory match, communication. A lot of us, some are consciously channeling, some are trans channeling, some are just walking about day to day receiving downloads. Telepathy, meditation, right? Geraldine contested that through her meditative experience. You know, everybody heard early, but I know that she did deep meditation work to really connect to her star family. Walk-ins, hybrids, right? Those is first contact. Healing amnesia, my favorite one. Healing our forgetfulness. Many, many different tools for that. Astral travel and out-of-body experiences. And thank God for this, the position of our solar system in our galaxy, which is amazing because all of these are things that are going to happen because of this last one here. We're going to do a lot of work, you know, we're doing on our own anyways, all a reflection of us, even our position of our solar system, but we're going through these cycles, and part of the cycles are that the layers are thinning, the vibratory frequency is harmonizing, we are getting washed by ether, we've gone through the photon belt of the galaxy, we're positioned in a part of our galaxy where cosmic rays are hitting us from the center of the galaxy. We are even receiving bow shocks. This is conventional science now, because of the position of our galaxy has a solar system has now gone above the galactic disk, creating this bow shock harmonic frequency that is bombarding our planet. This is provable science, okay? This is happening. We are ascending. How we get there is up to us. The destination has already been chosen. It's the journey that counts. So these are things that are occurring here. Now we're going to get into some planetary awareness, Martian love. And let me see, I might skip this part here. Yeah, let's do this. Yep. All right. Just going to quickly go over this. So this here is Project Stargate. Spoke about it a few times, but many times actually on different things. But this is the fact that, you know, the CIA had someone from the Monroe Institute doing a channeling back and forth with them for Mars 1 billion BC. And this is, I'll just share a few lines here from the CIA agent and the remote viewer. Go back to a period of time where they are. It's like I got a lot of static on the line and everything. It's breaking up all the time. I just keep seeing very large people. They appear thin and tall, but they're very large. Wearing some kind of strange clothes. Approximate time, 1 million years BC, planet Mars. On the CIA's website. His target, so this, lucky for me, I got this before you can't find it. You Google this on the internet, you search this on the internet, you used to get right to this website. And now it's not coming up. You got to go through a bunch of different sites to get it. But I got the URL here. And here's another one on Mars. This was actually recently, a couple of years ago. And this is not a speck of dust. Many photos were taken off this area repeatedly afterwards. And it was in the exact same position at that time, just to show you a little Martian anomaly here. So it's been accepted now by the mainstream that Mars used to be a water planet with land masses as well. They have been disclosing things about Mars for the last 10 years, even the finding microbial life in the North Pole. And they've done different models of Mars, back millions of years ago, and just to kind of see, what kind of erosion would take place. Because, we have very advanced computer models now, and there's all types of rivers and valleys and mountain ranges all over Mars. So they pretty much reverse, they did a model in order to see what Mars used to look like back in those days. And so at this point, it's pretty much a given. Even theories on how Mars lost its atmosphere, right? Because something occurred for Mars to lose its atmosphere. Well, something that I found very interesting is, in the 3D, 4D reality that we are living in, that since we aren't completely conscious of how we can control our sun, our weather, our rain, and all that stuff through our own physical being and body, we're really a victim to it. Different elements of nature can actually even kill us. So the only way life can really exist within this 3D reality in a way that is naturally occurring like this would have to be that certain elements would have to be in perfect alignment, the heat range and all these things for things to occur, and life to flourish. So that's what's happening in this 3D reality when it comes to our Earth being in a Goldilocks zone. So Mars actually moves further away from the sun at 1.5 centimeters per year. and for quite some time was actually in the same position as the Earth was. So it's had actually an experience of being within the same area as Earth. Not that that exclusively matters, because I feel that life can exist outside the Goldilocks zone as well, but it'd probably have to be a different makeup, maybe different elements. The being maybe isn't a carbon-based, oxygen, nitrogen-based being. It could be based on other elements, right? But it's interesting to note that Mars actually went through the trajectory of Earth and continued to move out further and further away. So and Earth will be in the Goldilocks zone for another 1.75 billion years before we exit the Goldilocks zone, which seems to be what we kind of need to sustain life on this planet. But I feel within 1.75 billion years, the Earth is going to be definitely ascended into higher octaves, and we'll continue our experience. Or well, actually, what I really feel is going to be happening by then is we're going to be out in the rest of the galaxy and even other galaxies exploring and communicating and interacting and forming alliances with all types of other civilizations. That's what I feel. And see websites, Venus, I shared this before, so just briefly say that they found an phosphine on Venus that cannot be created by any either man-made or through the decay of organic matter. So they've been finding this in Venus in the cloud layer, at which the temperature is around 75 degrees, which goes into some people's downloads that they say that there's actually civilizations that exist in the cloud layers of Venus that are in dome cities. And this was a smoking gun, because they actually found this in the 70s. They found this, but they went back through their interpretation and only released this a couple of years ago because they didn't realize the gravity of what they discovered. And now they're discovering that Venus has phosphine in there that can only be created through industrial purposes, someone creating it, or from the decay of organic matter. And all of that for this moment here. It's going to take a moment. When I was getting in deep into all this awareness, 2001, 2008 to 2008, I was deep into, I was going to all types of channeling events. I was reading all types of books, like extraterrestrial information. I just ate it up. That was just my like intro to everything, right? So just understood, I just started getting into everything, so many angles, a lot of ancient alien stuff, right? About the ancients and their connection to star beings, and what the hieroglyphs say and what the petroglyphs say about it all. And then also many different channelers and people like Lisa Royale and others that have wrote books on star seeds and our galactic history. And one of the books I came across, I found this information from many sources after that, but was The Prism of Lyra. And in this book, it talks about the first humanoid coming out of basically the galactic center as an energy force. It was an energy force, and the energy force decided to personify and manifest itself in physical form, and the constellation it chose was Lyra, right? And so the first humanoid template came there. Now, side note, that is also said by many other people that are really into this, and really into explaining the trajectory of our galactic history, have said that when we came into this galaxy was a reptilian and an insectoid galaxy, meaning that those were the variations of the beings that predominantly existed throughout our galaxy. The humanoids were fairly, that was a new addition, a new species incarnating from the void, from the sentient energy of the singularity of the Godhead of this galaxy, coming out and saying, I want to experience myself. It's almost like God fragmented itself infinitely, and all these fragmentations have sovereign ability to create. That's like the best way I can explain it. Source, multiversal source, right? Say there's galaxies, there's universes, there's multiverses. They might be multiverses within multiverses, and then there's a central source of it all, right? And as you get down to, to the galaxy, to the universe, to the galaxy, to the solar system, to the planet, you're getting more and more within what I was saying, those different cycles. But there's energy beings, and there's fragmentations of the original intent. Fragmentations of the original intent. What was the original intent? I want to experience myself infinitely. And all the fragmentations remember that one thought: experience myself infinitely. So this galaxy had already had that multiple times, different beings, different creations, different frequencies, different vibrations, different dimensions. And then there was another fragmentation that decided to experience itself even more differently than what was already here, and create even more of like constructs within amnesia and all these other things that we started to experience. A whole new drama unfolded in our galaxy, the arrival of the humanoids, right? This is the greatest story ever told. I would love to be a part of this movie, you know? So what we know about Lyra. So this is now the technical stuff. Let's talk about the technical data of Lyra constellation. Vega is a bright star located just 25 light years from Earth, visible in the summer sky of the northern hemisphere. The star is a part of the constellation of Lyra, and with the stars Deneb and Altair forms an asterism known as the Summer Triangle. So you might have heard of the Summer Triangle. This is it right here. Deneb and Altair and Vega. There's also within the Lyran constellation, there's something called the Ring Nebula, which is also an image you may have seen. Has been, shared quite often. Is a sphere of glowing gas thrown off by a central star. It appears brighter at the edge than at the center, and thus takes on an appearance of a luminous ring. The question is this the place where we originated, humanoids? Is it a soul group that came through there? Is it the original human template? Solifat is the second brightest star in Lyra. It is a blue-white giant located around 620 light years from our solar system. Sheliak is the constellation's third brightest star. It's a binary star system found 960 light years distant, and is 30 times bigger than our sun. So in the book of Lyra, right, Prism of Lyra, other people haven't given names to these creative energy, so the Prism of Lyra seems to be the only book that talks about where the humanoids came from first. A lot of other people that speak about this story talk about the humanoids incarnating into Lyra and starting from there. The Prism of Lyra is the only place I've come across that they talk about what happened before that, right? And I use the word before very loosely, because what does that even mean? So, and in the Prism of Lyra, it says the Elohim was the name of this group, the creator gods, the Elohim. And then we heard little variations later that the Elohim, some people believe that it's one group of beings, but by the time they came to Earth, and the Elohim had a role here, and the movie Prometheus is pretty much like an Elohim creating humanity, right? The Elohim, by the time they were on Earth, was a group of beings, a group of races, which is also to the fact that the word Elohim is actually a plural. It's not a singular, right? And it's also androgynous. It's not masculine. The Elohim, the founder group, decided they wanted to create life just like Source, the original intent. They started experimentation in the constellation of Lyra because of two reasons. It was close enough to the galactic center, and they had the conditions most favorable for physical life within the dimension they wanted to manifest. Here's the book, and here is a little map of Lyra. So in a moment, we're going to get to the galactic story, and I would love to invite Alan, Joe, and Sheila to just come on and start communicating with me, interacting, and having a discussion about it. But I want to first share a couple more slides. I think I still have time. Okay. Battlestar Galactica. Do you guys know this show / movie?
No,
they had a
it's
movie
a
too.
great picture.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So this is okay. You don't know Battlestar Galactica, Alan? The old school.
I don't
show?
watch movies, but I like the picture.
This
I
is a
don't
show.
watch it
Okay.
either.
This was in the 70s, and then it came, I think it was in the 70s, and it came back again in the 2000s. Okay, this is mind-blowing stuff in here. So in this show, right, there's a certain black hole in the singularities of artificial creation of Iblis. So there's an AI sentient being that occurs within this advanced civilization that is a solar system that has 12 planets and one star. So 12 within the one, the 13, right? And a singularity, which also has, the science, you got to look in the Steam's work for this, 12 points of singularity in the one. The singularity, right, happens within the AI intelligence on one of the planets called Iblis. Creation of Iblis was the name of the AI. And it leads to a world where the followers have been exiled after being cast out by Seraphis. So let me just break this down. So basically, there's all this like chaos going on with these 12 planets, these 12 colonies within the star system. And then all of a sudden, this AI basically is like a Terminator scene, but doesn't look anything like it. It's a completely different story. But yeah, the AI becomes
the Rocky Mountain.
What's that?
Oh no, something just playing back. Go, keep going.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, and then they have to leave their galaxy, their solar system. So they leave, and for seasons and seasons and seasons, they are going through the galaxy trying to find a new homeland of a place that was mentioned in their ancient scriptures by some of their ancestors that came and inhabited those colonies. Right. And the whole time you think that this is some story about thousands of years in the future. And then on the last episode, right at the end, when they crash into Earth, because they crash into Earth, escaping, basically the technology, there's only one ship left out of the 12 ships. So many had died. All types of wars are broken out, interdimensional realities, astral wars, like so many things were occurring. All of a sudden, the only way they can land on Earth, because they can't land, their landing gear is completely shocked from all of this travel they've done through the cosmos. They then come to Earth, and they have to crash land into Earth and destroy all the technology and have to start all over again on Earth. And then in the last scene, they're all of a sudden the AI that like was the benevolent AI, the good AI that stayed with them and came down, was still on Earth. And that's this girl in the middle here in red. She's the AI that was like stuck around. And you see her in modern day New York walking the streets. And basically you realize in the last moment, after being in the show all this time, that all of this took place in our ancient past. And these were the colonists of Earth. Okay. And the whole thing is like the story of the Prism of Lyra. It was like the fragmentation of these beings going all over the galaxy. And then like even they had to leave types of beings in different planets because things happened. And they eventually came to Earth, and they lost all the technology, and then they started all over again, almost like they went into a lower Yuga cycle age, and they had to start all over again and make their way up. So it was very, very interesting. There's all types of information shared on this show that also goes to show you that it's a very like ancient spiritual story that has been put into this context here. There was one other thing I wanted to share on it. Oh yeah, even their theme song, right? Their theme song for the show is the Gayatri Mantra, which is the oldest Sanskrit mantra in the world of how the universe and how everything was created. So they've even put in like songs and different elements within this to really solidify the antiquity of this being like a creation story of humanity. So I just wanted to share that with you. And I'll just share with you the actual mantra, the Gayatri Mantra that they use, just to kind of show you what it is and the fact that they're even using this. And this is the mantra that is, the beginning of all hymns and prayers within the Hindu world, the Vedic world, that you would do basically to start everything out as the beginning of all creation. And it goes like this. Om Bhur-bhava Swaha Tatsarvitar Vareniyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om Bhur-bhava Swaha Tatsarvitar Vareniyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yo Na Prachodayat.
And you do that 108 times, don't you?
I don't do it. I have done it in the past. My mom's made me do that. Yes, in the past. I used to hate it. She would say it would be the only way I'd stop getting into car accidents.
Did it work?
I think I just grew up,
Oh, well,
we did it for like a whole year. All right. So, okay, that's it for that. I think we have 15 minutes of Q&A. Is that right, Sheila?
Yes.
So then the Q&A could be this element here. which is the story of the fragmentation. So I'm just going to say it, and then I'd love for you and Alan and Joan to comment on it. We can see if there's any questions. So as according to the Prism of Lyra, and again, many other texts that I come across, the first slide on this presentation actually has the sources. So we have the first fragmentation, the founder race into Lyra. We have 3 planets eventually inhabited in Lyra. One of the planets was Zeta Reticuli. I'm going to give you a really fast example, a really fast story here. And then 2 of the planets ended up teaming up against the third one in a war in which they basically bombarded and made that third planet unlivable. These beings went under the earth and lived there for millennia. After a while, their human body suits weren't able to operate anymore because of the lack of all the nutrients and the sunlight and everything. They created clone bodies for themselves. This is one of the multi-dimensional versions of the Greys. They became the Grey beings. They didn't realize that they were going to be void of emotions and able to connect and feel when they had done this, right? They just did it because they really needed to, since they weren't able to reproduce, things like that. As this occurred, tribes were leaving slowly but surely from Lyra. Side note, there's another channeling that talks about, that I found somewhere else, that talks about when the Lyrans originally left Lyra, when the Lyrans left Lyra after tribes had already left many millennia before, and they went out into the cosmos to interact and meet with them, they were really surprised to find that almost all the humanoids in the entire galaxy were ancestors to the original Lyran race that they were already a part of. Because many tribes had left Lyra and gone and inhabited Sirius, Arcturus, Orion, but there was also planets and tribes that had similar ancestry that stayed in the Lyra constellation because they weren't evolved enough or at the frequency range to even realize that they could transcend the solar system and leave or go out, or they had some sort of other limitation or experiences to have. So as the rest of the galaxy started getting populated by humanoids, we started interacting with reptilian races. Not all of them were negative. There was dualistic. There were positive, negative. There was dragon races. And humanoids then became really interested in hybridization and also started experimenting with reptilian DNA and hybridizing it with human DNA without the consent of the reptilians. And this was supposedly, as according to one of the 3 or 4 different stories, was the beginning of the disconnect between the reptilians and the humanoids, was this understanding on sovereignty over DNA, right? Starting the DNA wars, basically. And then we continued to fragment. Now, meaning incarnate into different dimensions, go all over the galaxy. One tribe of Lyra eventually found themselves on Earth, right? This is the Battlestar Galactica story, okay? Eventually found themselves on Earth. And this tribe basically settled down here on Earth, was experimenting with one of the, hominoids that were already here that was in early stage development, and creating different variations, experimenting with them a bit. And then all of a sudden, 2 other tribes come down. A tribe from Sirius. And I say tribe because you can't just say Sirius and just call all beings Syrians, because the tribes, there's many different beings, different frequency ranges. A tribe from Sirius and a tribe directly from Lyra that had come from a different planet. They came with the intent. Now we have the Garden of Eden story. They came with the intent to create a 5th dimensional paradise on Earth, a place where they can have no war, just universal peace and unity consciousness, and then incarnate themselves into to have that experience. That was the intent of the Lyrans, since they remember the days when they incarnated into this galaxy, attempting to create a harmonic experience, but ended up having a solar system that broke out in war and fragmentation. So when they came down to Earth, they wanted to do this, but the tribe that was on Earth at the time didn't want anything to do with the current, the new inhabitants. This tribe left the planet, left it for the Lyrans and the Syrians, and they went where? To the Pleiadian constellation. Now we're bringing in another source book material of Abara Messiniac, Bringers of the Dawn, that the Pleiadians were known as the original Earthlings, right? Why were they called the original Earthlings? Because before they went to the Pleiades, they lived on Earth. When the Lyrans and the Syrians came to Earth, they left the Earth with their DNA imprint in the genetic material of the hominoid here, and they left and went to the Pleiades to inhabit it and started fragmenting out of there, interacting with the beings that were already there and so on. So as this was occurring, the Lyrans and the Syrians that were now on Earth wanted to create a 5th dimensional being, but there was a problem. The DNA code of the hominoid on Earth was already connected to the Pleiadians, the new Pleiadians that had left, and they could not do it without the support of the Pleiadians and their geneticists. So they talk to them, they convince the Pleiadians reluctantly to basically come and actually assist them in their project. However, the Sirian beings that were not at the vibratory frequency that the Lyrans were at, they were different dimensional experiences coexisting, thought that the Lyrans were actually doing something incorrect in the dimension they were in. They were violating free will. They were trying to manipulate this being. And let me just say this, there's many stories of hybridization. This is supposedly the original story. Many different ones happened after that, including the Anunnaki story. And then, so they wanted to hybridize this being, but the Syrians thought that the Lyrans were violating the free will of the hominoid by doing what they did. So now we have the Garden of Eden story. The Lyrans, God. The Syrians, the snake. The Lyrans went down to Earth, to the Garden of Eden, this fifth dimensional paradise trying to be created by the Lyrans, and said to the humans on Earth, basically, I'm just personifying this, how it manifested, who knows, and said, Creator, Lyran, Source, God wants you to live in this fifth dimensional paradise, but we feel that you should have the free will to choose your own experience. And this is now the snake convincing Eve to eat the apple. She ate the apple, right? Or the humans ate the apple and got what? They got all Pandora's box. We got the connection to the Zeus, Greek stuff now. Basically, all the sorrows and the challenges and the duality of this world. And then since that occurred, humans made the choice not to go with what the Lyrans say and choose free will. And now we have the beginning of the dualistic experience on Earth. And just to wrap that up right there, in between all of that, we have different types of tribes incarnating and manifesting on other planets in the solar system, including Mars, Maldek, even Saturn and Titan's moon. And then eventually this leads us to this earthly experience right now. So that's what I got from all of that, the research there. So over to you guys. What do you think?
Wow.
How long have you been studying this, Neil?
2001.
Yeah.
It really resonates, though. I mean, especially when, well, most people know that I'm a walk-in, and, I had a lot of questions, blah, 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 but working with my collective, one of the things that they began to show me was how, universes came together and that type of thing. I've never worked with them directly on the population of the planet, but everything that you're talking about resonates so true to me. I can't wait to take this back and chat with them tonight.
Yes, let us know what they say, please.
I will.
Yeah, tomorrow would be great.
So I have a question, Neil. If we go back to Lyra, that is when the conscious non-physical domains decided to descend into frequency and create form. Is that what you said?
Yeah, exactly. The humanoid non-physical experience, yeah. Because there were other physical experiences occurring.
Oh, there were. And on other galaxies, other planetary systems.
Within our galaxy, but not humanoid. That was the first humanoid template.
Do you mean they were reptilian or insect or something?
Right. Yeah. Right. Because humans, we can interbreed with other humanoid species, right? That's why we got Neanderthal, Denisovan, we got all types of ancient hominoids that were different species within us. So it's like this was the first template, and then it continued after that.
They call the Adamic race. That's what J.J. Hertog would call the Adamic race.
Yeah.
So, but maybe we didn't want harmony, maybe because we already came from harmony. This is just a guess. We wanted to live in chaos. We wanted to create a chaos to see if we would remember who we are. The ultimate test is to descend into chaos, forget who you are, and then somehow try to remember the divine blueprint. That's what some people say.
Yeah, I feel that definitely is what's happening here on Earth. If it was the original intent from the beginning when we came into Lyra, or if it happened later, that's like what I don't know. But it makes sense that maybe they came there, the experience, because all the stories that I hear of Lyra is I hear how it became very dualistic and warlike very quickly. And then we hear like basically the earthly experience coming all the way up until now. And if they came back, like if they came to Earth so many millions of years later, it would make sense that they've had this experience of duality for so long. Maybe they were ready to create a harmonic experience on Earth, but that's not the way it worked out.
Right.
You know, though, this really does make sense, because when you think of Sirius and Sirius A, Sirius B, there's such an eclectic culture that's there, because you have beings from all over various planetary systems that live there. And then if you look at what we have here, we also have a very eclectic array of cultures that live here too.
Yeah. Well, see, and this is I love this whole idea that I feel I've been hearing more people say lately, but I've been thinking about this for a while, and I've shared it with you guys, is that Earth is like an experiment of speciesism. Like all these different galactic beings from all over our galaxy, all these beings have donated DNA to the earthly experience.
Right.
So we have a very, very, very diverse reality. I've asked many channelers and other people that have had experiences about the beings on their planet. What does it look like? What does the culture look like? Who's around them? And I don't really hear the diversity of experiences too much. And when you get it, like on Earth, look at how many, just within the human race, how diverse the human race is in itself, right? So it really does resonate that a lot of different galactic beings have donated DNA here. And that's partly also why we are protected, because we're connected to them through ancestry, and also why we're a huge light show. It's almost like, let's put a piece of all of us into this planet, and let's see if we can figure out how to live together. And then the yardstick to measure that would be when we get to the point that we live in unity and peace with all of creation, right? We finally maybe learn the lesson that we're all here for, is like, we all come from one source, but we're also very diverse. We all come from all over the galaxy. We're extremely diverse. But we all came from the first intent, the original intention, right? How do we connect to the original intention and live in unity and in peace with one another?
Have you ever listened to Rudolf Steiner at all? You know Rudolf Steiner's work? Oh, you
I know about him, but I haven't listened to stuff.
Well, he's a little old school, but he talks about different bodies forming on different planets. There was a particular mental body that formed on Saturn for this human existence, and then we went to Jupiter, formed another level of understanding, and as we made it to Earth, we then integrated all these different bodies. Look at Steiner's work. I think his book, Cosmic Existence. I was just looking for it on my bookshelf, but I don't see it. Cosmic Existence. It's a little. He was one of the first, though, Steiner, to really look at dimensional realities as it overlays with the human auric field and mental emotional development. So there's a lot of different perspectives. Even Alice Bailey is interesting, and these are all like all these people have led to what we are doing today. You know, Madame Blavatsky in the 1890s, and Leadbeater, and then Besant, the Theosophical people, and then Steiner split from the Theosophists and formed the Anthroposophical Society. And they had some interesting perspectives about this, but they were mostly confining their awareness to the solar system. And now we've gone to the next level. So there might be something there, or we may have already integrated it and gone to a new level because. Right. Yeah, but.
No, that makes sense. I kind of feel that we did, Adronis at all, the guy that channels Adronis from Sirius.
I don't know him personally, but yeah.
So I did the first, like after I did Dr. Dreams events in 2009-10, we did 200 live channeling events in 3 years. Up and down the coast. So I sat in this channeling with a Syrian being, and we did this whole series on the beings that existed on every planet in our solar system. And it goes in line with what you were saying here, what Rudolf Steiner was saying, that we incarnated different planets and had these, experiences, almost like we graduated from them and came to Earth. Yeah.
So I think that now, what were you going to say, Joan? You were going to say
Well,
something.
you know, I had two commentaries. Number one, you know, recently I've been seeing certain people, look at them and they have the same face, same shape, same body type, same size, wide, height, and it looks to me like prototypes of people. So Neil, this morning when we were getting coffee, that woman behind, I swear I've seen her face, her body, her everything. And what you're saying really does kind of give me room to think that maybe different strains, different species, different genetics and manipulation, but we are, maybe as humans, we are 17, 20, 25, 30 different prototypes from these extraterrestrial species. And that was my first comment. The other is I want to go back to your presentation on the dimensions. You know, it's mind-boggling for us to think about what does it look like to be in a 10th, 5th, 8th dimensional frequency. I thought you did a really good job of trying to point out how difficult it is in our human space-time continuum to actually experience those dimensions, which I think you can experience maybe with meditation, psychedelics, and other things, but it really was hard to wrap my head around, and I loved the way you brought it out to us. So
thank you.
Yeah. So, Neil, so where we are now, and this is why I think Sheila's organization is so important. That's why it's appropriate name, Galactic Alliance. We're coming to an awakening point where we're going to take all this knowledge, all this great history that we've been, you know, brainwashed to think never happened, and think like suddenly we appeared out of nowhere. How primitive is that? And like we evolved from protoplasm. I mean, but you know, maybe on some planetary, but so we take all that and now we shift our vibration and then we create what Mary Rodwell is saying, the new human. That's where it's all leading to. What, you have anything to say about where it's going?
Yeah, all roads lead to this evolution that we're undergoing. I feel is inevitable, you know, and the early part of that presentation talks about the dynamics of the Milky Way to really show the position of our solar system and how it shifts and what happens to it as it moves around our galaxy. And I feel like everything is in alignment with the fact that there's something going on here that's going to assist us, support us in waking up, you know, really remembering who we are. And so even the Yuga cycle speak about that. And I wouldn't even be doing this work if it wasn't for the fact that I feel that this is the energy of the moment. Every zodiac, like I did some research a while ago about different religions coming onto the planet, and I realized that at every turn of every zodiac was a new religion that for that 2,000 years plus or minus becomes the predominant religion of that area in the planet, right? Good example is, why is the fish the symbol of Christianity in a religion that, you know, many fundamental Christians think astrology is the demon, right? It's because we're in the age of Pisces. That's the constellation above, right? What happened before that was a different religion. Why did, you know, when Moses came down Mount Sinai and he did all that stuff to his people and created an earthquake, that, first of all, I don't think that exactly happened that way. But the reason why they actually show that story was because they were worshiping the old zodiac gods, and he had come down from the mountain with a new covenant for the new zodiac.
They were worshiping the age of Taurus, and he was the age of the Aries, the ram. That's why they blow the ram's horn.
And why do Hindus worship the cow? Well, for two reasons. One is because it was the age of the bull, right, when it got created. And then secondly is because psilocybin mushrooms grows wild in cow dung, and they were consuming mushrooms at an unprecedented rate at that time. So
that's
like,
oh no.
You know,
is that true?
I had to throw that.
No,
yeah, 100%.
Meaning to holy cow.
100%. When I was like 22, 24, I had a journal that was specifically on mushrooms, and I would write and do research on mushrooms, take mushrooms, do studies on it. And I went deep into it, and I looked at the history of the usage of mushrooms in India. And the first line in the Rig Veda is, drink from the mushroom sea and you will see God. Okay. And the word soma in the Rig Veda, that's said over 1,000 times, is mushrooms. It's a mushroom tea.
Soma.
So yeah, in the Rig Veda.
So here we are. You finished that thought though. Here we are in
Okay.
the age of Aquarius now, where
Yes.
the religion, I think, is the divinity in each one of us. That's what I think if there is, you want to
Right.
call it a religion. Yeah.
That's what I was getting at, is basically, let me just close off here because it's time for the next presenter. But as every age shifts, we're now in the next age, the fifth world. And it's basically the religion of no religion. You know, we're shifting into a new frequency. And the new one is, like I like to say, is because, you know, humans love labels, is non-dogmatic spiritualism. Because you got to be careful. When you say I'm spiritual, all types of religious people will be like, I'm spiritual too, right? So it's like non-dogmatic spiritualism. We're getting into the age where we're finding a universal religion. So part of the inevitable stuff that I spoke about is the fact that every 2,000 years we shift into a new frequency, a new reality. We are the beginning. We are those people that started, you know, the other faiths along, you know, in history. We are now having these conversations. And we're at the beginning stages of something that's going to be sweeping over the entire planet, and it's going to be the new belief system that we're going to collectively adopt. So I feel very excited and very fortunate just to be at the beginning stages of something that is going to be so incredible.
Well, that's why we're laying the foundation for an Aquarian perspective here. So that's what being an Aquarian, I'm really happy about that too. So, all right.
Let's get into Geraldine.
Yeah, we have
Anything you
Geraldine
wanna-
coming up next.
Okay. I guess that
Yeah,
was the
so-
final word. Yeah.
I'm doing the official bio, but I know, you know, you guys probably have something to say. I know you do,
Yeah.
Alan. So
Sure.
I can, at this point, I can probably say your intro, Geraldine, for you, because I've heard you say it so many times.
Oh no, I don't know what I'm going to say. You read the official bio. Read the official. Bio.
Yeah. Okay. Geraldine Orozco is an intuitive DNA reprogrammer and ascension coach. On October 15, 2013, Geraldine experienced a vivid abduction from her bedroom window, where she recounts being taken on board a ship and meets tall grays that introduce her to 8 hybrid children. The next morning, she encounters a hypersensitivity to the human electromagnetic field. The discovery initiates a journey to find truth about what happened. Her first hypnotherapy in June 2017 results in the discovery of repeated abductions originating in her childhood. She recounts her abductions through her regressions, in which she brings forth information regarding the universe and ancient DNA alterations here on the planet that operate to control the population through hidden governmental manipulations. And before I give it to you, Alan, let me just give my own personal take on Geraldine. I've been working with Geraldine for a few years now, I think 3 or 4 years. And just her level of information, and, you know, like you said about Jenna, the right and left brain hemispheres, Geraldine is really firing on both hemispheres, because she's not only like gives you that feeling of like love and compassion just through her being and her voice, but she's also presenting some groundbreaking next level science of how we are connected to the cosmos, how we came to this planet. She's like an esoteric geneticist, you know. Now, when it comes to really uncovering the truth of what has been happening to humanity and how it connects to the ET agendas. And we've had her on many amazing events. You can check out PortalToAscension. She's also going to be on our Ultimate Star Beings conference coming up in 2 months. And she's going to be live at our April conference. So I'm excited to bring her on. But Alan, I know you have something to say too. So
no, you said it really well, because her vibration that she emanates in her talks is a frequency, and that is what she's bringing through. And with not just the information, because the information is very intelligent, but it's how she's bringing it through so people can open to it and actually be transformed by taking in this new piece. Like, open your mind, if you haven't heard Geraldine before, and just take in the considerations of what she's putting out there, and let it rearrange old belief systems and create something new and unknown. So
Well
Geraldine,